What is up, everybody? It's Animac here for AnimeUproar, and today we will be talking about the most recent developments in the story of Black Clover, including the secret behind the Heart Kingdom's unique magic and how exactly some members of the Heart Kingdom are able to access far more mana than anyone in the Clover Kingdom. We've definitely learned a ton of new useful information, and this will have a major impact on the rest of the story and definitely on this current arc, so I had to break it all down for you right here in this video. Before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to the one and only Mr. Beast and his new #TeamTrees initiative. Mr. Beast and his team reached out to a bunch of us YouTubers to ask us to support a really worthy cause. And what's the cause? We are going to plant 20 million new trees by January 1st, 2020. Mr. Beast has set up a website, teamtrees.org, where every donation of $1 will go to planting one tree on this wonderful planet we call Earth. Oh, what's that? You don't care about trees? Trees are not sexy enough for your weeb tastes? Well, it's not like they give us oxygen or anything, baka. But fine, here you go. We got Tree-chan and Sakura-chan, two beautiful tree waifus created by our good friend Johnny Let's Talk Anime. So head over to teamtrees.org, link in the description, and join the Team Trees cause. If not for the oxygen, then do it for the lovely tree waifus. One tree equals one waifu. Also, definitely check out Johnny Let's Talk Anime. He's a hardworking artist, an anime fan, and a supporter of the channel and of our Rant Cafe anime podcast. Finally, this video will contain Black Clover manga spoilers. We're dealing with the latest developments in the Black Clover story, so please proceed with caution. You have been warned. Chapter 226 of the manga begins with Gaia using a powerful form of lightning magic, but this magic is different from the type of lightning magic that can be found in the Clover Kingdom. This is evident from the rune-like symbols that appear around Gaia as he uses his magic. Despite the immense speed of lightning magic, Noelle is able to dodge using her Valkyrie dress. However, Gaia has the ability to command his magic to simply chase its mark until it reaches the intended target. Mimosa wonders whether this is a special runemanship technique that is unique to the Heart Kingdom. Mimosa and Finral also get involved in order to help Noelle. Mimosa tries to be reasonable and she asks Gaia nicely to give back Asta so they don't have to keep fighting. But not surprisingly, Gaia refuses. Instead, Gaia sends his runes up into the sky and they form an alchemical circle up in the sky above him. Gaia then proclaims that humans cannot hope to match the vast amounts of mana found in nature as ominous dark clouds begin to form around Gaia's alchemical circle. I think that this statement from Gaia is very important as it seems to suggest that the secret of the Heart Kingdom's power and the secret of their magic is being able to channel the power of nature into their spells. The power of the Heart Kingdom's magic users does not depend just on the mana of the user himself or herself, but rather the user is able to tap into the vast amounts of mana found in nature in order to make his or her own spell far more powerful than it would have been otherwise. This revelation makes perfect sense based on what we know so far about the Heart Kingdom. The Heart Kingdom is covered in luscious nature, and the human settlements are embedded in this nature and coexist in harmony with this nature. We also know that the queen apparently has enough mana to hide the entire kingdom in fog, which seemed insane when we first heard about it, and Asta, Noelle, and the gang were shocked to learn that any one person could have that much mana. It all makes a lot more sense if we consider the following. Perhaps the queen does not actually have so much mana on her own. Instead, it's likely that the queen is just able to tap into the vast natural mana of the Heart Kingdom, and this is what allows her to hide the entire kingdom and perform other insanely powerful long-range spells. The queen isn't just using her own mana for her spells, she is channeling the mana of nature, the rivers, the forests, the air, and so on. The ability to do this makes the queen far more powerful than she would have been if she had to rely just on her own individual mana. Our perspective then switches to the other fight that is taking place at the same time, which is the fight between the Queen of the Heart Kingdom and Asta. The Queen is attacking Asta with a large number of armored knights generated from water magic, and Asta is using his anti-magic to hold his own against them. Suddenly, a voice calls out to Asta, and this voice is able to accurately identify right away that Asta is able to negate magic and that this is the power of his demon. The voice then introduces herself as Undine, the pact bearer of the Queen of the Heart Kingdom, and one of the 4 great elemental spirits. So of course, she is the water spirit. Because she was able to identify the nature of Asta's power so quickly, Undine uses her immense water magic to drag Asta's sword around, essentially forcing him to go in whichever direction she chooses. And no, I am sure that we will definitely not get any jokes in the comments about the Queen pulling Asta's sword. We're way too mature and sophisticated for that here at AnimeUproar. But aside from the Queen jerking Asta around with his sword, it is important to stop and talk about how quickly Undine was able to recognize the nature of Asta's powers and the fact that this was the ability of his demon. It is clear that Undine, and by extension the Queen, are very familiar with demon magic, and perhaps they already did research on Asta before he even arrived inside the Heart Kingdom. After all, someone who lives in a world surrounded by mana is not likely to be familiar with the idea of anti-magic. It is, after all, an extremely rare ability that shocks and puzzles most of the people who come across it. So the fact that Undine and the Queen figured out so quickly what was going on tells me that they have extensively researched demon magic and perhaps even Asta himself. Undine also notices that Asta has no magical abilities within him, and she calls him a tier 9. Asta has no idea what this means since the Clover Kingdom does not have a tier system. So Undine explains that this is a ranking system based on magical ability and prowess. Tier 9 is the lowest and therefore weakest tier, and then it goes up all the way to 0, which is the highest and therefore strongest tier. Undine then proceeds to chain Asta down with water magic in a way that the chains are not touching Asta's sword, so Asta is unable to effectively break the chains. Since the Queen seems to be totally cool with watching Asta drown, it looks like she really does intend to kill him and not just steal his grimoire. We will have to wait and see whether she is definitely evil or just ruthlessly pragmatic. But from what we've seen so far, she seems to be very comfortable with putting someone she barely knows and someone who did nothing wrong to her in life-threatening situations. Back at the battle between Gaia and the other 3 guests from the Clover Kingdom, Gaia is using his unique magic to basically summon incredibly strong flashes of lightning from the sky. But Finral, Mimosa, and Noelle had wisely decided to dodge the attack using spatial magic. This was definitely a smart idea because it looks like Gaia's attack was insanely powerful. It left a crater in the ground, and you definitely would not want to be facing the brunt of that attack. Back at the battle with the Queen, Sacré makes her appearance. She suddenly transforms into her human form, and she uses her sealing magic to unseal Asta's chains and release Asta before he drowns. For some reason, Undine is surprised to see this type of magic. Meanwhile, Gaia is impressed that Finral, Mimosa, and Noelle were able to use teamwork to teleport away from his attack and far enough away from him not to be able to sense them. And then they are able to teleport right behind him in time for Noelle to hit him with her infamous Sea Dragon's Roar. In terms of the Heart Kingdom's tier system, Gaia has revealed that Noelle's magic is tier 1 and Mimosa's magic is tier 3, and thanks to Undine, we also know that Asta is of course tier 9. While fighting Undine and the Queen, Asta realizes that he needs to conserve his anti-magic. He can't keep using anti-magic freely at full power because this allows Undine to bait his anti-magic with her own magic, and this lets her drag Asta around in the water until he runs out of air. Asta then notices that the Queen, the user of the water spirit Undine, is located in an area that is sealed off from the rest of the room with water magic, meaning that the area in which the Queen is standing must have air. Asta storms past Undine and her magic and heads straight for the Queen herself. And that is how the chapter ends, with Asta trying to make his way to the Queen as Undine looks surprised at Asta's newly formed strategy. I believe that this chapter just low-key answered a lot of our questions about the Heart Kingdom and its seemingly insanely overpowered Queen. The thing that makes Heart Kingdom magic so unique is the ability of its magic users to tap into the mana of nature. And what allows the Queen of Hearts to have such a massive mana zone is again her ability to use and channel the mana of nature, such as the mana of the ocean, the trees, the rivers, and so on. This makes a lot more sense than the idea that one person has so much mana on their own. One question which was not answered in this chapter was the question of why the Queen of Hearts seems so desperate to gain Asta's demon power. If we look at how she has been governing the Heart Kingdom and how she has been living in harmony with nature, it doesn't make sense that she would want Asta's power just because she is greedy and power hungry. Assuming that maybe she wants Asta's power in order to defend herself and her kingdom from an even greater threat, then we have to ask ourselves what could possibly pose enough of a threat to make her think that gaining Asta's demon power is the only way for her to fight back. With how powerful this queen appears to be, and with how powerful Heart Kingdom magic appears to be, it seems crazy to think that she would become so desperate for more power unless there was a really good reason. And the only potential reason that I can think of right now is the Demon Megicula. Perhaps the Spade Kingdom, along with the Demon Megicula, have been expanding into the Heart Kingdom, and the queen needs demon magic in order to fight fire with fire. But at this point, I'd love to hear what you guys think. Is tapping into the vast mana of nature the real secret weapon of the Heart Kingdom? And why do you think that the queen is so intent on taking Asta's demon power? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, please leave a like to let me know. And if you happen to be new to AnimeUproar, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at AnimeUproar. And of course, don't forget to support Mr. Beast's awesome initiative. Just visit teamtrees.org and see how you can help. I want to give a big thank you to all of our AnimeUproar patrons who make videos like this one possible. Special thank you to all of our Pro Hero tier patrons, including the one and only Gilgamesh, Nothing But a Fan, Jason Wilson, King Zeldris, Angel Cruz, Steelers, Poet Pablo, Atropos Wraith, Firidala Beat, Ekarot GN, Anatoly Kazatsky, DJ Nathaniel, and Alpha Dio. And I can't forget the ones that rise above all other clans. A massive thank you to all of our The One tier patrons, including Ingrata, Alolanatom, Matty Mac, Makota-kun, and ya boy Seth. If you enjoy our videos and you think that they add some value to your life, consider supporting us on Patreon. Even a single dollar will give you access to our patron exclusive Discord, and your name will appear in our videos along with these amazing people. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.